up? Welcome, misfits, one and all, to this episode of Talk Skeptic. To me, to us, to you, Noah's Flood and North America. A little Mormon-y, but okay. Beamsy, we our very own, will join us for commentary on the video from the channel Christian Movies. Can you move over there? I'm filming this. Ooh. All right, you can take it off now. Called Noah's Flood and North America. So won't you join
500
him?
people saw it? Yeah, all 500.
All 500. Yes, and funny enough, all 500 kind of go at it. Yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, won't you join him, James W., and myself, Amy Newman, as we have a good time biblically flooding North America. Woo! That's
Woo.
right.
I'm slightly a little bit less Zergy than Stukov and less Russian.
Just add a little bit here, a little bit there. You get a nice ass. That's what I tell me. Round, thick. Oh, no, that's the god. The goddess.
You appreciate a
Swedish
nice
vodka.
ass.
Appreciate a nice ass. That's true.
Swedish
But who
vodka,
doesn't?
not Russian vodka today.
But I do. Ooh. As long as it's a good vodka, that's all that really matters. I want to thank all of you out there for joining us out on the intertubes. If you're feeling fancy, if you're feeling down low, up high, we hope you're doing good. And please don't forget to like the video because it throws it up into the algorithm and YouTube goes, all right, fine.
Don't like it.
We'll send it out to people, whatever. So yes, thank you so much, audience. What is up, as well as all of the Twitch. The Twitch is growing. We're past 100.
Thanks to Beamsy in no small part.
Indeed. In fact, I said I was going to do it 10 times. This is number 4. Thank you. Number 4th time for Beamsy for not only being a Twitch subscriber, but giving a gift of 10 subscribers. I know, baby girl. I said the same thing. Ooh.
What happened?
I had a buttercup join us.
Oh. Passing through.
Yes. Just saying hi because we used to say that the cats sometimes get zoomies, which is they just start running in the middle of the night at
Burst
3
of energy,
a.m.
Yeah.
She has what I call forever zoomies. She just, unless she is sleeping, she is running. This is the rare moment, maybe also eating. But besides that, yes, follow on Twitch, twitch.tv/Amy Newman Skeptic. Thank you all out there. Boom, 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 boom. And new things coming to Twitch. I am updating all of the flair, all of the emojis, all of the everything, because it has actually been lovely expanded. So we're going to lovely expand it right back for all of you. And subscribing at youtube.com/Amy Newman.
About to get pounced on it.
Thank you. Oh, yes. It is so funny watching her just full body tackle Moonlight. She will jump over a box onto him. Once again, I guess most guys would love to have a girl just, I guess, tackle them, but it isn't might not be the exact same feeling that they're thinking. She does it to the dog, who is like this big. Oh, I should be shutting the. Speaking of me screaming, someone's trying to sleep as I scream into the night. Sending love to our subscribers, and you can also hit that bell icon when you do. That's actually because you gain access to our premieres and live streams, because just hitting subscribe, well, we thank you for a subscription. Though if you just wanted to subscribe to your cousin stamp collection channel, but you didn't actually want it in your feed, we understand. And so by hitting that bell icon to all, you can actually get it in there, see our premieres, join our live streams, and we get to say hi to you. Like, what is up, everybody? I love StarCraft 2. What is up, Shaddy? What is up, James Wolfe? It is a fantastic game. Made by Blizzard, which is now Activision Blizzard, which has now become Blorg Activision Blizzard. I think that's how that works. Anyway, just like Disney, I own everything, and you'll like it. Anyway, I love Star Wars. Who doesn't love Disney movies? God, I love them. Sponsor us. I want to work in Winnie the Pooh Land. What is up, Krish? What is up, Binge Thinker? What is up? Beamsy's in chat. He's here. We're queer. Wait, I am.
Everywhere.
That's me.
I'm all over the place.
What's up, Tsunami? Ooh. And yes. What's up, KCA?
Hey, guys.
I want you to know that it's my... It is my impression of basically the South Park one. Listen, you signed a contract. You will do 8 Marvel movies, and you'll like it. We're not gonna eat that shit up. Anyway, I do love my Marvel movies. I can't help it. Listen, y'all. Gotta have your Spider-Man.
Do you?
Unfortunately.
Why am I not surprised that Amy's favorite one is the one that shoots white sticky stuff over everything?
Well,
does it so well too.
Good point.
And yes, we're live. We'll do it live, unless you see us afterwards, and then it's not quite live. But yes, sending love out there to all the people who love and support us. But we are talking. We are indeed. We are Talk Skeptic to us, to me, to you, Noah's Flood, and North America. We are going to do some quick shout outs and then hand it over to the man with a plan. And then we're going to do the exact opposite and listen to a video of someone who butchers science repeatedly, answers in menaces.
I'm sure he ordered himself a geology book off of Amazon, and he spent probably 2 or 3 days looking through it. So he's basically qualified to teach geology.
Well, at University of Basement, they have kind of a pipeline program. That is, you hit your head with a pipe until you get in line with creationism.
The distinguished Meatball Hot Pocket Fellow of scholarship thing place.
2 minutes, James.
Building Academic Hall. Yes.
Also, I want to send love to, and I can't help it, I was lurking on Praise's stream, so now I can't just help but...
Now they're here?
Well, no. So, yes, it's Praise. Damn it. It's Big Van Vava. Big Van Vava is in stream with us. And apparently that comes from a creationist who was really mad.
What stream was I watching for Praise the other day that was just really, really, it was really terrible.
That covers quite a fair of his streams.
I know, but I was gonna say, yeah, that really doesn't narrow it down. But
well, he did a review of a discussion between Grayson and Redefined Living. That one was
Redefined Sodomy.
Oh my! I try to do that every other night.
Do you know why Ken Hoven does so well on his new platform?
Yeah.
What's that? Why does Ken Hoven do so well on Pornhub? Continue.
Not Pornhub, the other streaming one.
Rumble or
Rumble.
Tumble.
Cock shoot.
Rumble.
Yeah, why does he do so well on it?
Because Rumble and Grindr, you have the same user base.
Oh,
It does.
that
It
makes
does. I feel
makes
like
sense.
it has a lot of overlap.
It was
that
the Lord
Yes,
laughs
it's
at the
on.
heathen. That was the stream praise did the other day, and which once again, that's like another like idle threat. Like God is laughing at you. Do we have any evidence of that? No, but what do we have evidence for? Us laughing at God. That we can actually give you evidence of.
Yes, no.
I think they're just trying to come up with the dumbest argument possible, and hopefully it kills us all from aneurysm due to stupidity.
I think you just
That
like you were
could be a
saying.
plan.
I think earlier is that possibly they want to make us die from head desk, and if we just hear Beamsy
Face palming.
smacking his head against it, we should just pull him away slowly.
Yeah, Atheist
Okay.
Jr. had over 200 people on his stream today. He was,
There was 240 when I dropped in, so he did well.
Really?
Boom, boom, boom.
yeah.
Hells yeah, AJ at youtube.com/Atheist Jr.
He was
I guess
tearing
that's
up Hoven today, roasting him.
The only problem I had with the Atheist stream is he said he was only going to stop when Hoven comes up with something new. But
Oh my.
that would mean he would never stop any of Hoven's
Sure, it'd be a
uploads.
24/7 live stream, 365.
I mean, it is kind of just Kent looking at the same slides he's been talking about for 40 years. Mostly.
Indeed. It's the latest research from, and that's being generous, James. It's the latest research from like 1970s.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
He has
Cutting
slides.
edge. They're not the early 90s is like they're cutting edge, on the cusp of really on the pulse of the scientific community, Kent is.
And that's funny. Big Bam Mama, she's saying that he has 18 viewers and that AJ had 200. That's what it feels like to not have to buy subscribers and to actually have to work ground up and to actually build a community. Like, I'm starting to realize that he was a thing. It's not that he is a thing because the technology has moved on. Most of why he could even continue was because other people were platforming him. And so, it's why AJ has surpassed him because AJ was basically making fun of his nonsense. However, there's no shortage of nonsense on YouTube. And so it's kind of like a thank you for your service, alumni University of Basement, former YouTuber Kent Hoven, and
he was talking about chemtrails.
Jesus!
All the real hard science. He really sticks to the hard science. He really does. He talking about chemtrails and things of that nature. One world government.
Going full tinfoil.
Yeah, channeling his inner Alex Jones.
Gotta use what works.
Gotta play the hits,
And all right, let's get into it. We will keep on saying hi to everybody that joined stream. We will keep on reading everyone's comments that tag us at James W. and at Amy Newman. But there are multiple ways also to support the show. If you'd like to see your comment shown on screen and have commented and all this other stuff, a prop and nonsense, why not send in a super chat? It's one of the great ways to help support the show. You can also become a Twitch subscriber. Woohoo! At twitch.tv.
Follow Beamsy's footsteps.
That's right, Amy Newman Skeptic. And once again, getting all sorts of flair and emojis and sorts of fun and nonsense. We like our little graphics as well as our channel membership down below on YouTube. That will get us the evolving badge system that triggers creationists because anything that evolves apparently becomes a proxy war for God. You hate God. All right, sure, whatever, but things evolve. So get over it. Anyway, channel membership.
What's your religion?
Yes, that is your religion. Please, if you put your science here and your religion here, fine. But if it's your science versus your religion, the science is going to win every time. Every time.
Oh, you'll see on Judgment Day. That's the one day when God.
I know. Whenever they feel pushed into a corner, they make the veiled threats.
You'll find out.
They don't even have the balls to give you a threat that'll happen in your life. It has to be, oh no, you'll find out after you die. Oh, thanks. Okay, sure. And thank you so much, Duchess of Clutches. In the red, I was kind of feeling it. Was green for St. Patty's Day.
You're going to go to the Judgment Day, and God's going to take out a big bullhorn, Amy, and he's going to shout at you, "You're not a woman. I made you to be a man.
I made you one way. I even said a book, and yet you went against the book." Yeah, I kind of just wasn't feeling it. Kind of went my own way.
It's kind of full of bullshit.
Well, now we're going to have to torture you forever. Oh, well, you're kind of a dick. Forever.
Yeah.
Setting.
Praise I am.
Wait, we have that's weird. We normally it's missing the beard. Instead, it has those are right. God damn it! That's big bad mind. Right.
That's exactly what Praise I am would say.
That's true. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Little bit of reverse psychology possibly going on. I can imagine only a mustache. But a $2 super chat from Big Bad Mama. I am not praise. I am.
Maybe like a clown filter or what other kind of crazy filter can we put on?
I just want you to know that when I
face.
actually do go on Praise's channel, he's probably going to be like, "What the fuck, Amy? Why every time are you trying to spread rumors that I'm Big Bad?" I just can't help it, Praise. The overwhelming evidence. It's somewhere. I have it in.
It's not that I'm not saying that you are a big bad mama. I'm just saying that you are a big bad mama.
Listen, we like exactly. Thank you so very much, Big Bad Mama.
Amy's a good Christian, all right.
I
You're
am.
just confusing her for being on knees.
I was so going to make basically the exact same jokes, I think. Great minds. Great minds. Thank you so very much again for all the love and support, Big Bad Mama. That's true. Big Bad Mama actually releases a lot of great content that I watch.
She does, yeah.
While I wake up and I just scroll through my phone. So go check her out. Even though, that's exactly what a praise I am that I am would probably say.
That's what
James kind of. But what is up, Captain Red Bull? The science doesn't win if you ignore parts like novel, testable predictions. Yes, actually be able to say something about the future.
Oh yeah.
Yes, a lot of creationists want to use the past and basically say, well, how should I say this?
Millions of dead things buried by rock all over the world.
Yes, they want to make predictions that are unfalsifiable. And unfortunately, we need something novel and testable. Yes, postdictions. And so in science, you actually should be able to say, hey, if we go to this layer in the geological column, we expect to find an organism that looks like this. And every time we do.
all the layers are the same age. Because they are.
We've also had nothing where we bring up like the phylogeny challenge, where something is complex at earlier stages in development, and something is simple ends up being on top.
Amy, it is irreduced complex. You do not know what you're talking about.
Exactly. If we omit that part, it's a Shroud of Turin. Science can be argued against. Just ask any Holen. Exactly.
You can see on the shroud, Jesus have a 19-inch penis. You can see it outlined right on shroud. You have to wrap it around in a loop. Almost size of whale.
Oh my, now you're talking my language. Not that I'm a size queen, but a little bit, if we can just keep on making it bigger. Okay, anyway, sending love to everybody out there. So what were we...
He's done a lot of research on whale penis in his time.
It's actually why I got kicked out of SeaWorld. They told me it was a blowhole, so I thought that's what it was for.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Beamsy's fellowship in marine biology, a short-lived foray.
Apparently, I'm also a qualified biologist, which I never knew about.
Which is different from why I got kicked out of SeaWorld, which is trying to start a bubble bath.
I mean, did you browse through a middle school biology textbook? If so, you can be a biologist according to the creationists. So,
well, actually, you would have to ignore most of the middle school bio. That's the sad part.
Yeah. You read through it doesn't mean you believe it. Doesn't mean it's true. But of course, we have the ultimate source right here from God. So we don't need to listen to the biologists.
Are you a biologist, James? Do you know that a woman didn't come from a man's rib? What? Anyway.
Apparently, from my experience, women always come from a man's tongue, but that's a different matter.
Hey, I would say that's definitely a good avenue of going to town. We're talking channel membership and Patreons. So many ways. We're sending love. Patrons down at the bottom, right there, at patreon.com/Amy Newman. And if you are 2 out of the 3, if you're a Patreon, if you are a channel member, or you are a Twitch subscriber, you will be added to the girl deck and become a captain of the girl deck as we explore really bad creationist arguments, generally speaking. Generally young Earth creationist arguments. I'll paint with as thin a brush as we can.
Pointing out Jamie became an ERV expert.
Well, that is, I think, where we have our new basement university. I think he was one of our first graduates, because he basically said that his statement, and I am paraphrasing, but I guess he's paraphrasing science. He said, I was just in a channel and I was listening to all of these, pro-evolution people talk about ERVs. And I've basically spent the past 4 days, really going deep dive on this. And I can tell you, I think with authority, that it supports creationism. And so, our first graduate has been born. So thank you, JB of Studio 215. We're going to hang your PhD behind me.
Then when I kind of asked him about that, he kind of had like a little smirk on his face. Like, he's like, yeah, I know what I'm saying. I'm saying in 4 days. Yeah, I know more than all the experts, the people who study this for decades. Yeah, yes, I do.
Basement University is highly accredited by
they don't know shit.
Almost the majority of Christian academic institutions.
Yeah, I'm still
accreditation
waiting
units.
for that manual that he said he was going to email me so I could go through so I could be educated as much as they are on ERBs, but I haven't got it yet. I'll send him a reminder.
Great source. But yes. So yes, including all of our supporters, and then we're gonna hand it over to Beamsy because we could probably gab about how silly creationists are, and we are going to in a moment. But we're also sending love to James Wolfe. We saw James Wolfe out there. We howl at the
He is out
moon.
there.
I would say you would think I am allergic to sunlight, and that is only because I feed off of blood after a deal that I made I tried to interview this bee, and then at the end I knew she was being all coy about it. I'm like, why would you want me to interview me if you're not going to make me into a vampire? And then she gets all upset at the very end. I'm like, girl, interview with a who? With a who? Anyway, sending love to James Wolfe. Sending love.
Newman, the Baphomet vampire. With the
Based on a
penis.
true story. Indeed. I always love when they get all upset over pronouns because I always just ask, do you check people's genitals like you're at the thrift store? You're at like the nearest pharmacy, and I just want to imagine like a gender realist that doesn't gender anyone unless they inspect their genitals. And
Unless
so
they know for sure.
Yes, and so they have only like can pronoun like 4 people. And besides that, they have to go throughout life, or how many ever. I don't want to slut shame or not slut shame. Though if you're a virgin, you can't possibly use gender. If you're a gender absolutist.
Why do those idiots use genitals for identification of genders? Because if you look at any sort of biology textbook, they identify gender as based on secondary sexual characteristics, not primary and tertiaries.
Indeed. In fact, that's kind of, I would say basically that gender and sex are 2 different things, on gender just being the social characteristics that we generally highly identify with sex and things like that.
No. Sunflower will be at the bathroom door inspecting genitals before you go in.
Well, I think
making sure you go into the appropriate bathroom.
Exactly. One potty police, which would, I feel like should only be appropriate if you are in a BDSM, BDSM club. That may be the only way appropriate, and where you have to get on your knees before.
My son told me one time, like, Dad, you didn't put the toilet seat down. I said, what are you, the potty police now? Yeah.
Well, it was just
it was like 7.
Also potty police. Well, it would be. They always go extremely fascistic, and not only that, but these are also coming from the people who want freedom. Who are we talking? But yes, just we could probably go down. I'm gonna say the last thing. The secondary sex characteristics. I think Beamsy was saying. A lot of the time, I will ask the people who disagree with this. They'll say, I only if it's has male genitals, only if they have female genitals, and I'll say, walk me through. And they'll also say, well, you're stereotyping. You're stereotyping women. You're stereotyping men. And I go, okay, you are at Wendy's, and you're in line. Why do you call someone a she? Why do you say? And they start saying things like, well, they have long hair, and they're wearing mascara, and they had a skirt. And I'm like, wow, that sounds very stereotypical.
You just
You don't really want to. Oh, well, that's a whole other thing. Once we get into the Christian
Did
and
you
the...
misgender God?
Yes, I did. Well, that's it. Well, not only that, they get upset when I misgender their God. The Christian God...
That's a form of blasphemy.
Not only does the Christian God have to be male, but I get in arguments with Muslims now that the Muslim God has to be male because Arabic is a gendered language and that in Arabic it says that it's male. Thus, he is male. It says it, it's the Arabic, which to me is like languaging it into existence.
Right. So
those
some
balls
language...
right there. It's right in the depth of Arabic. Such a beautiful set of balls. So I wish you could understand them.
Gendered languages can have a gender for a table. So yeah, you technically would refer to the table as a he, even though it doesn't
lots
have
of languages do it.
A penis.
Sure. But it's
or
just like, but it's almost like they have to lean into the point we were originally trying to tell them to actually, like, yes, do you get it? Chromosomes don't have to be attached. Chromosomes do exist, however. They want to be like, well, you're super postmodernist, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, we know sex exists. Would you like to find out? It's right back there. My bedroom's right over there. What are we talking about? Anyway, yes. So, hey, James Wolfe.
Focus, so Newman.
F-U-C-U-S. What's that spell? That sex is real. Good time. Anyway, sending love to Dale. As we look for empirical evidence, we're going to be looking for empirical evidence tonight. We have an actual geologist on so that he can hit his head against rocks. That's basically James and I's goal tonight. We have a rockometer, and we have both one for the first time that he hits it, the original time, and then for how much skull damage we're able to achieve. Thank you, Dutch Dale Pastel. Thank you so much. Chris Disciple, sending love. We have many fantastic theists as part of the skeptic and ranting community. Christians, Muslims, Jews. Thank you so very much, Chris Disciple, sending love as
Pagans
we are
like
both
Beamsy.
right. Like Beamsy with many. I feel bad saying this, but pagans are such our natural ally. I don't know why. The Abrahamics, I don't know what it is. And I love you, Chris. My family is Jewish. I love the Abrahamics out there. But being a heathen, as that word has spread out to encompass all of us, somehow has encompassed all of us. But so does the skeptic and ranting community. Sending love. And we're sending love to Rachel Holen, which reminds us that the bad type of slavery is when you're taking from the nations around you, when you're just taking people against your will. The good type of slavery is when you have someone in a maid's uniform and you take them into the other room and see if you can make their butt black and blue. Slightly different. Anyway, sending love to the wonderful, lovely, and fabulous Rachel Holen. Sending love to davegar, who reminds us... wait, where's... He's right behind us. davegar reminding us that the world is thick and old. Though it's not really old. Can I keep on saying... it is... a gigaton. I'm trying to think. A Google ton. I just said a gigaton. I'm pretty sure it's almost a transformer. It is. We're really not that old. 4.5 billion is old to us because we are not like I'm in my 30s. That's a little bit slightly different from 4.5 billion. But sending love to the thick and old 4.5 billion year old Earth. Thank you so much, davegar. What is up, Reid. Hello, fellow heathens. Boom, 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 boom. Boo, boo, boo. You should be checking out Mark on Modern Day Debate and Standing for Truth and youtube.com/MarkReidAtheism.
I still can't believe Mark Reid survived through that wits and word salad.
Ah. Flat earthers are a special kind of, we were talking about that the other day, is that there's a lot of overlapping magisteria between a flat earth and a young earth. It does seem to have a little extra, if you're eating hot wings, young earth is the hot and spicy, but then there's always like the flaming, Tabasco sauce that is whatever flat earth is. But yes, it's good to see you survive, Mark, and with such a spicy salad. And speaking of amazing ice cream, sending so much love to Shenny711 on $2 super chat.
Thanks, Shenny.
Thank you, Shenny. Sending massive love to Amy Newman. Boom, 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 boom. And everyone. Saying love to the skeptic and ranting community and everyone. I guess even if you're not skeptic, but we would like you to be skeptic. And I know that sometimes the flat earthers will be like, no, we're skeptic of the mainstream. You just think that you are the most intelligent person and that it's really a narcissistic type of vibe. To me, is that you can only accept information from yourself, and the experts, the people in the field, somehow you could top them. James, we should be able to go into geology and
you can't?
Beams a what? Beams a who? We should be able to go out there. They're rocks, James. How hard could it be?
I mean, we evolved. We believe we evolved from them. So
exactly, this is
what's
Grandpa,
the genetic code of a
right
rock?
Here.
Well, it's like
exactly.
if you saw Mark Reid talk to Holen on that the Holen Hustle for when he was on Praise's channel, and Mark's asking him about chromosome 2 and why it looks like it was fused, and of course he doesn't have anything to say. He's just like human chromosomes are so incredibly complex. They're very more complicated than a space shuttle. And you think that just happened by chance? Oh,
that,
so you're
by
not.
By the way, that fusing is the last gene separation between us and our other ape relatives.
So you're not going to say why. You're just going to go to the, it's so complicated.
So complicated. And yet I'm a graduate of Basement University. I don't get how they didn't prepare me for this. It was our DVD number 5, I thought.
Kind of just like maybe God did it that way. Yeah.
The old poof magic.
And every time I ask them for something, it's always poof. They will sit us and drill us on like the minutiae topics of evolution and cosmology. And,
Bubble asking for the species between dogs and wolves. The intermediate.
But when I ask, exactly. But when I ask for those type of questions, but those type of questions, although they take a minute to find the answer, they're out there. So instead of a 3-second Google search, it's a 5-second Google search. But it's not something that have you considered that Whitsitt may be ahead of his time? Yes, I do. I think that in the future, flat earthers will have this padded wall and this padded wall and that padded wall and that. No, I'm sending love to Witsit. We love him, I'm sure. I mean, I like debate. I've slowly changed my approach to flat earthers, and I'll give you this tip that I think Mark does well. And it's hard. You will have this when you go in there, and it's surprising, a vast disdain for the person that you're talking to. And if you go in there with a vast disdain for who you're talking to, the audience will feel it. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but I've had to basically secular meditate before debates and with flat earthers and stuff, and be like, listen, you can't kind of talk down to them, because then it feels like you're talking down to the audience. And
you can. If the audience is flat earthers.
Can I tell you what happened? What helps is talking down to their points. I'm not saying don't make fun of them. Make fun of their points. When they say something stupid, so go in there the first minute or whatever. That's kind of what people get your vibe. Go in there with a good vibe. Start debating like as if you're come here to break bread. And when they say stuff that's stupid, then go and bat it away. And if they keep on saying stupid things, then go as hard as you need to go. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying parse that out. I'm just saying that I've gotten good feedback from that approach. I do the same thing. Well, and I'll say one other thing as well. And thank you. I want to give one more shout out. Sending so much love because the super chats and all the support are what make this channel possible, as well as all of our supporters out there. I'm about to be uploading two things. And I'm going to be uploading a clip from not James. We just did James W. From Sam, the lovely Sam, who we haven't seen in a while because I've been going back. And so we're going to have a conspiracy clip, an anti-conspiracy clip uploaded, a 5-minute one. And then I am fulfilling part of my promise in going on other people's channels. I plan on going Praise's channel. I plan on going for Standing's channel. I went on EF Dawa last night, and so I have created a clip of that. Look, I go back and say, look, I understand. I was on there for like 2 hours. I was like, now I get it. When you're a Muslim, you have a diverse, people, because you have the atheists, you have the Christians, and all this. I just wish we had the opposite. I wish we had that for us. Like, I wish the creationists would come on and be here. Maybe when we get really big, that's what it'll be like. But young earthers, you need to come on here. Christian, Muslim, the two Jews that are young earthers that have ever been on here, join us, because they tend to be secular. But, whatever we can get. Bubbles, who is a simp for the Abrahamic religions. Come on. I don't know why. The one pagan that is like, no, really, we need to. It really isn't. It's a shame to call him even that, because I don't know where the gnomes things come from. What article do you read in the middle of the dark web in your underwear sucking a popsicle at 2 a.m.? Do you can believe that gnomes were taking part in the Vietnam War on neither side, and yet working the middleman between both and stealing
soldiers' socks,
and Vietnamese children's socks? Why? To serve what purpose? To what
they eat
early 90s Disney movie was this?
They eat them. They eat socks.
Yes, they eat them. What's up, Free Rebel?
It's the only source of food they can consume.
It is. It's protein. And no, it's not. I don't even know what the... But sure.
I think he was watching South Park and confused the underpants gnomes.
Yes,
You
probably.
fill the sock with
That would
protein.
make more sense than anything that has come out of his mouth. Sending love. Who were we even? It's just so much. We're sending. We were shouting people out, I swear. Sending love. Maybe davegar? Who knows? Sending love to davegar. Sending love to Emily. Emily. Woo-hoo. Reminding us that the LGBTQ people trigger absolutely all the fundies. Every once in a while, you will get a Christian church that flies a rainbow flag, and all the other Christians hate them. Come join atheism, agnosticism. As well as Senator Cato. Thank you so much, Senator Cato. Separated church state. And then the three big ones. We also, I said this was going to be a short. This is what happens every time, Beamsy. I'm so sorry. We're like, this is going to be a very short shout out. But then there's so much nonsense. Like, so much freaking nonsense.
I'm not helping the case, am I?
I don't know why geology triggers them. I do not understand why, like the argument, the two buckets are different layers or just a giant bucket, like just pre-flood, post-flood. They just think that all the fossils were just like a giant snow globe and that just fossils fell down. Those are the two models that we are up against.
No, they've actually got a couple of different ones, and some of them are just more absurd than the others.
Oh my.
The idea of what they try and represent is one school is saying that everything that we see that is dead was buried in the Noatic flood. Then sometimes they actually do horizontal disposition, like you would expect from Kent Hovind. That's why it's in individual layers and many different layers. Then there are other ones that actually say that the flood happened in sections that didn't all happen at once. So that's why there are different layers as well. Others say that the devil made the layers just to make it so that...
Pick your poison. Which flavor of bullshit is on the menu tonight?
Okay, so it's not just... What you're saying is it's not just the snow globe. There are many bullshit models available.
That's why when I said I suspect this one is just going to be buried by rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. But when it comes down to what it could be, I might be wrong in those aspects. That's one of the reasons I didn't watch it. The idea of what they want is they want you to look at it very, very simply, but they don't want you to understand it. That's as soon as you understand how the earth works, it just does not make sense of what they're trying to claim.
Then all right. With that, we're just going to have our three. I have my three commanders. There's so many. And then we're handing it. We're sending love to Ian Davenport, the commander of the girl deck, as we remind us, watchmaker arguments are so shitty. Another one that they love to bring up is we're on a watch, on a big watch, on a galaxy of watches.
And that, by the way, is the scientific term, shitty. For the
shitty, yes.
Argument. Yeah.
Basically, I'm pretty sure. Peer-reviewed. Sending so much love to Ian Davenport. Sending love to Regos, reminding us we have a skeptic Bible study and that they believe that dinosaurs were dragons. And somehow They also believe in giants, and they believe I think because they actually believe in mythological beings, they will look at us and say, "You believe in myths. You came from rocks. That's a myth right there."
Beamsy, do you know how big Tyrannosaurus Rex penis was?
Not a clue.
Would you like to find out?
Not really, but I could find out if I was interested.
Okay, well, we were going to actually hoping you said that, because right behind door number 3 is... Anyway, sending so much love to Rejos. And last but not least, James, did you know I may have been diagnosed with ADD? Sending love to
I hadn't heard that before.
But the thing is, being a theropod, it's more than likely they didn't actually have a penis. It's more than likely they only had a cloaca.
Oh my. Listen, it's not about the size of the cloaca. It's about how you use it. I think. Probably. We'll find that out. Someone Google that.
No. This is Dr. Kent.
Don't put that in images, though. Penises. 15-foot whale cloaca. Sending love to Matt Deig, reminding us last but not least that we're looking for theories. We're not looking... I consistently, forever, the worst apologetic I think we get is that's just a theory. Because that statement means that you have just never taken a science class. Because a theory is a framework of facts. We take facts, we build a framework that explains a phenomena. And all right, sending so much love, Ian Davenport, Rejos, and Matt Deig, the captains of the Girl Deck. You can become that at patreon.com/Amy Newman. You can also join the Girl Deck by becoming 2 out of 3 of Patreon channel members or Twitch subscribers. The Girl Deck is infinite in size. Oh, I just noticed. What's up, Newtonian? That's right. We tag. Lovely. We're trying to draw in people that disagree with us. So we have Christian, I think Muslim, and I think atheist. I'm trying to remember what tags. Twitch is like very specific on what tags you're allowed, but we love drawing us all on. And I really don't think there is more that we can squeeze out of this. We probably went overboard. So we really want to thank you, Beamsy, again for even joining us. We are going to now switch it over. Before I do want to say, hey, and that Pat is fantastic. We want to send love to Beamsy is a qualified geologist currently working with HIM Struckmeyer to update fault lines in the soon-to-be-published stratigraphic maps. I probably should have said that
You butchered
while
it.
he was full. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Beamsy. Beamsy, please, if you would not mind introducing who you are, and then we are talking Noah's Flood and North America. What are your thoughts?
Well, my name everywhere is just referred to as Beamsy because my real name is actually Yerent Kemi's Tyne, and that's usually too much of a hassle for most people to spell or say. Yeah, I have a Bachelor of Geoscience and a Master's of Science in Earth Structure and Dynamic Movement from the University of Queensland in Brisbane, a Doctorate of Geoscience and Physical Geology from the University of New South Wales in Sydney. This allows me to actually be a qualified stratigraphist and allows me to analyze and publish maps in the disposition and the layering of the layers that you see within the geographic structure. The these maps are actually used quite often by the petrochemical engineers, as that's how they find a lot of the oils and stuff that they look for. So they have to be fairly accurate, and that's why they get updated once every 3 years. And in all honesty, it's a lot of fun going out into the field and using ground scanning radars to find any interesting new features. I find that the majority of I don't want to call them ignorant. What would be a nice way of wording it? Young Earth creationists who
No, I'm just teasing.
I wouldn't refer to as derogatory. Some of them are ignorant on purpose who just want to deceive, but they're few and far between, and they're usually the largest voices. But the majority of the ones are just being deceived because they don't want to look into anything, and they're afraid of having their ideas questioned, and that's just been programmed into them. But the arguments made to keep those people in those positions are usually incredibly simple, and they don't take into account the actual chain of events that lead up to being in the position that the evidence actually lays in.
They're good at oversimplifying complicated processes, and
they won't. It's not a matter of oversimplifying it. It's usually leaving out vast chunks of information. It's lying through obfuscation in most cases, because it doesn't even correctly state what the topic they're talking about. Say that we come from rocks. No, the elements that were made up into the organic matter that make us up was inside of the rocks as an aggregate, and then it was leached out. So that's about the only extent that a rock was really involved. But when it became organic material, it wasn't inside the rock. It was outside of the rock, and it was only the elements and the minerals that were doing so, not the actual rock itself.
So you believe you came from a rock?
Yeah, see what I mean by the extent of how stupid that statement is? It doesn't even take into account what it really means. Yeah. For this upload, I am suspecting it to be just answers in Genesis. We find billions of dead things buried by rock layers laid down by water all over the earth.
Definitely part of it, yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with and if this is going to hurt me or not.
Oh my, I hope it does a little. But only in ways that you like. And all right, we are going to move into the opposition view.
Christian movies.
Who?
YouTuber.
YouTuber Christian movies.
Question here coming in from Praise.
You're asking a geologist, not a biologist. So if you want to actually ask someone something like that, ask a biologist. They'll be able to give you a better answer.
Have you seen an amoeba give birth to a pine tree? Was the question? Yes.
Yes, that's what I said. Ask a biologist, not a geologist.
And all right. With that,
Genesis Apologetics and Sevenfold Films.
We are going to move to the opposition view from Christian movies, Noah's Flood, and North America. Two things we're definitely used to hearing together. Mm-hmm. And with that, we are moving into it. We put these on 1.25.
Big Bad Mama was just joking about that question, by the way.
I know Big Bad Mama is just poking the bear.
There you go.
Oh my. And as James said, I'm known for poking bears.
You are known for that. How do they usually react?
Oh, let me tell you, they giggle. And with that, we're moving into Noah's Flood and North America. We have Beamsy in-house with us to have fun. Under the sun, we're beginning.
To some, the idea of Noah's flood conjures up images from Sunday school Bible stories of a small boat overstuffed with cute animals that gently bobbed in an ocean for 40 days. Many simply call it a myth. Fewer and fewer these days believe the flood account from Genesis 6 to 9 is actual history. The Bible frames the flood as an actual historical event, one that involved a specific family of 8. Genesis says the flood lasted for a full year, engulfed the entire world, and preserved animals, plants, and humanity from well-deserved judgment. The flood represents the most detailed account of any single event in the Bible. Both the Apostle Peter and Jesus even referred to the Genesis flood as a real historical event. So it's safe to say that the credibility of the Bible, and even Jesus himself, hinges on whether the flood account actually happened as described in Genesis.
So, because the Bible says the Bible is true, the flood happened. I can see that logic work absolutely perfectly. I don't see a fault in that.
Also, yeah, I was going through like what I should pick, working with Gizmo for title cards, and there was one, I'm like, I don't know if I want to use this because it just has this small little boat here. And then it's like, hey, small little boat. Yeah, all these animals, small boat. Makes sense.
It lines up with brand new scientific research. Over 1,800 oil well boreholes from 4 continents have all been compiled and mapped. The newly emerging map tracks the thickness and extent of each rock type as they were laid down by the flood. This research reveals the same 6 megasequences of sedimentary rock layers across multiple continents. Each megasequence contains rock layers, often with coarse-grained sandstone on the bottom, then finer-grained deposits like shale, then topped by limestones. Each megasequence is bounded above and below by flat, eroded surfaces called unconformities. A few places on Earth have layers that represent all 6.
Just because of his speech pattern, I'm going to put it on normal.
1, it's an inconformity, not an unconformity. 2, they're not mega sequences, they're basin deposits. If you understand what a basin is, you would understand why they actually can be very easily defined. And thirdly, they're not laid out in a particular order.
6 megasequences. How did they get there? What do they say about Noah's flood? Catastrophically water-deposited sedimentary layers top most of the world's continents. Would Noah's flood bring lots of water and mud? Geologists agree on the 6 megasequences, but they differ on the timescale in which they happened. If they took millions of years, then they have little to do with the flood. But if they were all deposited rapidly and recently, then the flood should come to mind. Many also question when a larger landmass, such as a Rodinia-like supercontinent, broke into continents that moved to their current configuration. For the first time ever, new megasequence maps allow us to see how the flood shaped our entire planet, just like the Bible said, including reconfiguring
just like the Bible said.
Shall we go to tectonics? Because in accordance to tectonics, all the continents were actually combined together 6 times and broke apart 6 times. And in a couple of million years, they're going to link back together again.
Yeah.
For a 7th time. So...
Oh no, I've heard this before. It's Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah. And they couldn't put it back together again.
Damn it. Freaking dinosaurs. I assume it's because of
paradise, one that was set up for eternal life, worldwide vegetarianism, and harmony with our Creator. There was no bloodshed.
My favorite thing about this story. No, I can't get it out of my head because I just assumed for so long that like sitting would be the whole reason why everything went to hell in a handbasket with food. But no, apparently if you hit a certain quota of like water above sea level, everything just starts going really post-apocalyptic and vegetarians start eating each other and lions are like, you know what? I kind of want to be a predator now. I had these sharp teeth the entire time, but it wasn't until the water level was up here that I figured out how to
eat this lettuce and celery kind of sucks.
That
one's a
exactly. Anyway, we are watching from University of Basement, Christian movies, Noah's Flood, and North America. And we have Beamsy with us in-house.
Shed, disease, or even animal death. Plants and trees had no thorns or thistles, and humans tended God's creation. Then came the fall.
Cool
We
story.
disobeyed God and ate the forbidden fruit. Sin entered the world, and death through sin. Suffering, pain, mutations, and cancer now plagued humanity. Plants and trees grew thorns, and we transitioned from keepers of a lush garden to laboring farmers.
Not from, it's just...
The earth and universe began to decay and groan under the weight of sin's curse. Not even 2,000 years later, humanity had turned so corrupt.
And yet sin and the fruit tree over
Thanks,
here.
Archbishop Usher.
A big amount of water over here.
So we don't get eternal life because Eve decided to take the apple instead of the Samson.
Honestly, if she had just taken a salad, we would be in a perfect heaven right now.
I mean, look at this chart here, Amy. How can you refute it?
Yeah, this is basically science.
Considering they use a base 12 counting system for a lot of these, if you divide the number by 12, a lot of them actually come out from more realistic ages.
But Beamsy, I mean, the Bible says, look at that, Methuselah 969. I would like to live to be 969.
It's funny how most of those things came out of Mesopotamia, and Mesopotamia had a base 12 counting system.
You're right. So 930 divided by 12, Adam would be 77. Good age, but in within human lifespans. And then we have, I assume this person is Seth Meyers, great host. So
Noah was 500 when he built the ark.
just absolute, like, but that's why fundamentalism is so ridiculous. Among the other many reasons. But we are watching.
You could have lots of kids in 500 years, Amy. Well, not you, but I mean, normal.
No, never.
Could have lots of kids in 500 years.
What's up,
Chris? Are you talking about the iron accretion that they found on the side of Mount Ararat, which just happened to almost look like a boat? No, it didn't look like an ark. It looked like a boat. An ark means box. If you look at the... Sorry.
Promoting, right?
Yeah. If it's the one that looks like... if it's boat-shaped on the side of Mount Ararat, that's actually an iron accretion. That's not anything that was preserved in that location. There's no carbon residue. There's no evidence of anything that was actually
there's
built
residue
there.
or something.
No, they haven't found wood. There's been no wood ever being presented. It's an iron accretion. They've done geological studies on the thing. And also
and had pictures of animal cages in there, but they lost the pictures.
So this is an easy joke, but do you think it may have been a different kind of wood? With that, we're gonna move. Welcome. We are talking Noah's Flood. Welcome, Chris. It was fun seeing you on Dawa the other day.
One thing that's never been answered is, what is gopher wood? No one knows what gopher wood is.
It's a magical wood that they used to have before the flood.
Gopher wood is something that sounds like you would get in a video game. Like, what do we need to get? Gopher wood. It's right between, like, sheep wood and elephant wood being the best, the toughest.
It's a little bit better than mole wood because if you have a gopher in your yard, if you know what the difference, the gopher makes a different mound than the mole. So yeah, gopher wood.
I believe it.
Corrupt that God sent the flood as a judgment against us. For God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth.
Good thing God did that, because I mean, you hate to have violence in the world. I mean, it's a good thing God just kind of nipped that in the bud right back then, so we don't have violence.
You have to understand, there was so many people killing each other that he needed to set an example. He had to kill them all. Kill them all.
Well, yeah.
And let him sort it out.
Oh, you guys think you can kill people? Well, hold my beer. I can kill people. Yeah.
It's just that they keep representing the Ark as what you can see on screen, what AIG did. But if you look in the Bible, it describes the Ark of Noah in the same wording as the Ark of the Covenant. Bible. So that means the Ark of Noah in...
God instructed Noah to make an ark, a word that means box or chest, to specific dimensions, materials, and construction. And Noah did according unto all that the Lord commanded him. And Noah and his family entered the ark along with 2 of every basic kind of land-dwelling, air-breathing animal with nostrils. These add up to at least 1 pair from each of about 2,000 animal kinds needed to reproduce all the variety in animal life we have today. Then, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened.
They do have to stay. Oh, wow.
The fountains of the deep.
Yeah, that hurts. Every time I hear that, it's...
Well,
for that to work...
have Mid-Atlantic Ridge. We have the ocean is split. That's where they broke open. Yeah.
Right, something split open.
If you want to see what happens when the plates split apart catastrophically, have a look at the Siberian traps. That is a flood basalt eruption. That's the sort of things that would happen if it broke apart in the way that they're describing. And water would be the least of the concerns of all of these people left on Earth.
Hey, Beamsy, can I just point out that Serbia is in Russia and that I'm Slavic, and so that technically I'm a Slavic trap?
A Siberian trap. Yeah.
Very much specifically. I could be a Siberian trap, yes. Yeah. Anyway, we're talking Noah's flood in North America. We have Beamsy here. We're getting him very close. I can feel the meter. Like at least like the first hit against the head, against the table. We're working it.
Tunguska.
Oh, there's already been one.
Yes, we have one. Ring, ding, 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 ding. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is stage number 1. We've done it in under 5 minutes. That means that James W. and I each get a beer from Applebee's at the end of the night. However, we're now moving into
Put it on Ken Hoven's tab.
Exactly. Put it on DVD number 5.
I've never drank beer. I've never had alcohol. Of course you haven't, Ken.
Ken Hoven seems like the kind of guy that has a girl on his lap and he pours alcohol down her. But like that's just like my gut feeling. Who am I? It's just the armchair right here. I forget. Oh yes, we're now moving into stage number 2, which is how many times can we make Beamsy hit his head against his desk? And we are talking Noah's flood in North America.
If there's anybody that can, it's the Bible. So
anything you can do, I can make up better.
2 events, the fountains of the great deep breaking up and the windows of heaven opening, began the first day of a 371-day-long calamity that resurfaced the earth.
A calamity. That's a nice way of saying everyone drowned. But sure.
Killed everything that moved on land. Hot magma mixed with steam pierced the Earth's crust. Giant rifts or tears ran thousands of miles across the planet. Scalding hot magma vaporized massive amounts of water that jetted into the atmosphere. The water fell back to Earth as intense global rain, along with torrential rain
I also wanted to say this before, just the use of stock footage in this video.
And all that sulfur and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere just blotted out the sun for years, killing everything.
And blotted out the sky.
Yeah, the end of the Carboniferous era was actually heralded by the Siberian traps erupting, and that created the Great Dying. That's what you would expect if something like that actually happened in the scale that they're talking about.
Because of the gases released?
Not just the gases, it's also the heat. A flood basalt eruption is incredibly dangerous because it doesn't stop. It builds up a large igneous incursion on the surface, but all of the gases and the heat build up underneath it until it can actually break out. And then all that heat and all those gases suddenly flood into the atmosphere.
Doesn't sound like a good Wednesday.
And the longer it goes on, the worse the larger the cycles are, and the worse it gets.
But if what they're talking about happened, that would be on a much greater scale than even the Siberian traps, right?
Yeah, it would destroy the surface of the Earth.
Right. Because it would be worldwide, not just regional.
Yeah, if the fault lines were created by the fountains of the deep breaking open, we would probably have a third of the planet covered by a large igneous incursion.
Once
It would
again,
be apparent.
not a fun Wednesday.
Yeah, you couldn't miss it. A slab of basalt covering a third of the planet. So yeah.
And remember, this is something they claim happened 4,000 years ago. This is not something they're claiming happened like a billion years. They're saying this happened 4,000 years ago.
And yet it didn't affect any South American or Asian civilizations.
Womp womp.
For 40 days. Worldwide catastrophic rifting caused massive mud-filled tsunamis to speed across deep ocean floors, then onto shallow ocean floors.
Also, I get to say this once a podcast that we cover the Abrahamic God, but hashtag loving God.
Killing everything in their path.
That's not how tsunamis work.
Shallow.
Yeah, that's not how tsunamis work. They don't carry a large amount of sediment into them, depositing that as they travel. As in deep water, all they are is just a pulse of energy that's traveling through the water.
You might not even notice it.
No, you won't notice them. In deep water, off the continental shelf, it doesn't have any effect. It's not until it actually reaches the shallow water that it actually creates a welling.
Also, a pulse of energy flowing through the water. The guy at the end of the pool who took a piss.
But then that doesn't explain how fish and ichthyosaurs and marine reptiles all ended up buried.
The mud, they said it had a lot of mud, Beamsy. Yeah, it was the mud.
Well, we've seen tsunamis happen in Japan, and what happens is the tsunami comes in, then it gets mud, and then it brings it back out. So if you actually wanted to say that it was laid down by tsunamis, then it should be land-dwelling creatures.
Tsunami. She's amazing.
Yeah, it should be land-dwelling creatures on the bottom, and then sea-dwelling creatures on top of that.
Petrified clams in the closed position. Have you ever heard of that?
Most of them aren't clams.
Oysters.
They are bivalves, but they don't have the same muscles that clams do.
They don't even lift?
No,
Muscles,
they don't actually
Chinese
open
buffet
when they die.
muscles.
Marine habitats. The bursting fountains of the Great Deep spew out megatons of magma and carbon dioxide. Sure enough, the
Magma.
first megasequence rocks show a spike in volcanic activity, and
Oh. No.
A spike.
What is
A
this?
spike.
Yes, that was the Great Dying. That was caused by the Siberian traps, and it was globally devastating. If you look how much of an area covers, it goes from Siberia and Russia all the way across to North America.
This looks like an article. What is this? I can't see. Let's see. Institute for Croatian Research is that he's citing here. Wow. And you'll notice it looks like an article. And he just plays it for like a half second. And it just goes.
And when did that happen, Beamsy? When did the Siberian traps eruption happen?
That would have been about 650 million years ago.
Alternative answer, last night.
And then how long? So how long would that have had like a devastating effect for life on Earth? Like how long?
Hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years after that, that the temperatures would have been off because of all the gases and everything.
Yeah, it's the reason why it killed most of the sea life is because it actually took out the majority of the oxygen from the water.
Because of the temperature rate going up of the water, it couldn't hold the oxygen.
That was one effect, but also a lot of the gases that actually come from a volcanic eruption in high quantities during a flood basalt eruption also displace a lot of the oxygen inside the water itself.
Displaces the oxygen. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, hold on. Before we just move on, we had that one. And what is this evidence for spike in mantle carbon outgassing during the Entrocan period? What is he saying over this one? All right, we're going back into it.
Ounce of carbon dioxide. During these first 40 days, intense water currents overtopped most of the flooded continents. Water-laden sediment travels at highway speeds. Thick sediment blankets start covering low regions of the continent. Fossils show that the first 3 megasequences buried the shallow seas that were filled with marine life, as these deposits have almost no trees or land animals.
What's up, number one handsome
All 3
man?
megasequences
Number
covered
one
similar
handsome man.
environments across
It's a
North
good
and South
name.
America and Africa, the 3 continents mapped so far. One global cause, Noah's flood, best explains this one worldwide effect. Then by the 40th day of the flood, the Absorica megasequence began hitting. The maps show that this is when things got much worse. Something shoves the water over the tops of even the high lands from that ancient world. The newly forming ocean floor offshore is so hot that it starts very thick.
Oh, so thick. Oh!
One thing I would love to ask him is, okay, if the first 2 layers are exclusively the oceanic floor, why are they underneath the next 2 sequences of your mega sequence?
Also, I'm not hating, but if you are using the BBC, that is a actual thing you need to license. I'm going to assume you did not. And so it's going away from just stock. And just, once again, not hating. I used to be a little bit more gray hat myself. However, these people get away with whatever.
Pushing up the ocean waters from beneath. Sea level rises dramatically. Molten magma rises and fills the widening gaps, pushing the mid-ocean ridges wider. The distant colder ocean floor shoves against the continents, then slides beneath them like giant conveyor belts.
It's not colder. It's actually got nothing to do with the temperature. It's actually to do with the density.
Also, pictured right here what Greg and Steve did last night.
Floor shoves against the continents, then slides beneath them like giant conveyor belts.
That worked too good for me. I'm just going to take a second. All right, we're moving on.
Deep beneath the earth in some places. Rather than the conventional model that has the seafloors spreading slowly, this runaway subduction actually happened quickly, moving at about 5 miles per hour due to the heat caused by the friction and pressure of the rapidly subducting plates. As the diving ocean floor plates subduct under the land, they push down the continental edges and then release them, creating tsunami cycles that blanket the continents. Just how tsunamis happen today, only more intense.
Beamsy, what if it didn't happen 4.5 billion years ago? What if it happened longer? What if it actually happened 6,000 years ago? Well,
what he's just saying now with the friction, it makes the heat problem even worse.
oh my.
Because what's one thing that friction produces?
Gonna assume not cold.
Yeah. We're already up to 3 face tests, so how many more are we going to go?
Oh no, there's a counter. We're going for a record. We're trying to see how many face tests. But so we're 3. Okay, give me a second. So we're gonna add 2 to the board. Sponsored.
All right, come on, Discovery Institute. Come on, Genesis Apologetics.
I do, however, want to remind everyone that this podcast is sponsored by IKEA. IKEA, desks that work.
And frequent. For example, the most powerful earthquake ever recorded in Japan, and the 4th largest in history, was a magnitude 9.1 earthquake that occurred in 2011. This earthquake was caused by an undersea megathrust about 45 miles
again, Bob and Steve.
east of the Japanese coast.
Right there.
At the center, there was a 160-foot slip between the overriding plate that was part of Japan and the underlying Pacific plate.
He felt
the sea bottom rose about 23 feet when the fault unlocked, and the resulting earthquake triggered a devastating tsunami that was 133 feet above sea level and traveled inland for 6 miles. The tsunamis occurring during the flood, however, were different, much different. With the ocean ridge bursting open rapidly and pushing the ocean floor under land continents on a worldwide scale, tsunamis were happening in cycles, several every hour, and with long stretches of subduction zones active at the same time. The incoming phase of a tsunami has a much higher speed and is highly turbulent, which keeps the sediment in suspension, but it leaves behind layers of sediment as it slows down in the retreating phase. This cycle repeats several times every hour during the 150-day inundation stage of the flood, first entombing the shallow marine life, followed by land creatures in different habitats and elevations, leaving behind what we see today in the fossil record. These types of tsunamis have even occurred in recent history, such as the tsunami caused by slipping ocean plates that hit the coast of Washington in 1700 and left behind multiple layers representing each wave of the tsunami. Recent seismic technology actually allows us to investigate whether this type of rapid subduction occurred. Sure enough, these scans reveal a ring of unexpectedly cold rock at the bottom of the mantle, beneath the subduction around the Pacific Ocean.
Does a radar tell you temperature? No, it can't. It's not showing temperature. They're just variations in density. It's got nothing to do with the temperature of what's down there.
You can find that out a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Also, sending love. I felt bad because I realized that I was...
Jesus took a thermometer down there and took a temperature reading.
Took it right up there. But
we only have mathematical models of what the temperature is like down there. We don't know how hot it is down there in reality. But we can use ground-penetrating radar and seismic data to actually find out the density of the rock. It's the same way of what we're using to map the fault lines along the east coast of Australia.
Can they extrapolate temperature from density, or at least get maybe a vague idea of it based on...
That's what I said. You can get a mathematical model about what it is, but it's not 100% accurate.
Not super accurate.
I just want to say I feel bad for... Well, this is what they think that they're all loving, all moral God. Just going around just drowning people. Drowning, once again, the entire planet. And drowning is one of the worst ways. Well, there are many bad ways to die. I would say drowning is not up there on one of the better ways.
But the amount of time they have to use the excuse of magic, magic, magic. Why didn't just God magic everything out and then get it ready for just Noah and his kids? Wouldn't that just be far easier rather than having to do this?
But Beamsy, you're not including the fun factor. And so, like, God could just poof everybody away painlessly, and there would be no pain or suffering. He'd be able to start over clean, basically instantly. Or you could have basically an entire mission where everybody drowns. There are multiple days of suffering. The stragglers fight hard to survive. Their loved ones perish.
How long do you think he's going to hang on before he drowns? Well, we know exactly how long because we're omnipotent, but we're omniscient.
Doesn't that sound way more effective and efficient if we could just, like, really go through this whole ritual? I feel like it does.
Jesus making fun of the people drowning.
Yeah.
You know. Could save them, but enjoying watching them die.
The severity and elevation of this stage of the flood is why the first land creatures and plants start showing up in the fossil record laid down by the Absorica megasequence. Entire ecosystems are buried in enormous deposits that later turn into coal, such as the extensive Appalachian coal beds. The U.S. has over 7 trillion.
Coal is not formed like that. All coal in the ground at the moment comes exclusively from the Carboniferous era because there was nothing that was breaking down the cellulose. So there was time for large masses of peat moss to build up and then get buried. That's the basis for the coal.
So it's only during the Carboniferous?
There are stray amounts from other times. Like if you go to Scotland and Wales, they've got peat bogs. They're a massive buildup of detritus from plants. They use that as a fuel source for cooking food and heating the house. That's the basis from where coal and oil comes from. But it becomes more environmentally determined now that there are bacteria as well as fungus that actually breaks down the cellulose of a lot of plant matter. So it doesn't get the chance to actually form large, thick beds of peat moss.
So can I ask you, we're about 1/3 of the way, Beamsy. Binge Thinker asks a good question. Do you think that he is confident about what he's saying, or do you think that this is just a guy with snake oil salesman?
I think it's someone that's been given a script and he accepts the script.
Sure.
Because a lot of what he's representing is just wrong.
Well, I mean, like these guys, you have to kind of feel for them because they have this entire fossil record that they have to fudge and say, how do we deal? How did this happen? So they've got this one flood, this one geologic event that they have to, have account for everything. So, I mean, it gets pretty outlandish, but what else do they have? They don't have anything else. They've got like this one thing and they've got to just make everything happen somehow, some way. Even if it doesn't make sense, we'll just make it. Yeah, anyway.
But then if you just look at the wall of that coal mine over there, you can probably count at least 50 layers there. And they're all of varying thickness.
Oh, yeah, all during one flood. Yeah, one flood. Yeah, makes multiple layers like Kenobi sand toy. See? Look, made all these different layers. Yep. Well, it's like at Specimen Ridge, like the 17 forests, one on top of the other, each separated by volcanic ash? I mean, you might think it's multiple eruptions, but no. It's not, right?
They're actual 17 forests that are buried in volcanic ash.
Right. Yeah.
That cannot happen in a flood because volcanic ash does not petrify and concrete. If it's wet, it turns into slate or mudstone.
It's got to be dried for a considerable length of time.
Yes, it can't have the amount of water they're talking about for a flood. Yes, it can be rained on, but if you look at what happened with Mount St. Helens, what happens when heavy rains hit that area? You get huge mudslides and lahars going through, washing away both the volcanic ash.
Oh, I love mudslides. They go great with, once again, the salad we were eating before. If you can make me one of those, if you don't mind. Oh, a different mudslide, right?
Different mudslide, Newman. Focus.
But if they were talking about the surface of the Earth being immersed underwater, none of that volcanic ash could settle to be petrified.
It would have been dispersed.
No, it would have turned into mud.
Or if it was completely underwater.
Yes, if it's immersed in water, it turns into something called lahar. It's a very sticky and thick mud that is really nasty.
And then what happens when it dries after that?
It'll either turn into mudstone or slate. It'll be very similar to distinct from ash stone or pumice.
So they would be able to tell the difference, like if that had happened at Specimen Ridge, it wouldn't be. They could tell it was not underwater.
Yes.
Okay.
It might have had light raining through a couple of years, but there was not enough.
Water.
Yeah, but we're not talking about immersed in water at any time. Otherwise, it wouldn't have the opportunity to cement into ash stone.
Tons of coal reserves. Where did it all come from? While we know that coal is formed by dead plant material being sandwiched between sediment layers, we only have enough vegetation on the Earth's surface today to produce just a fraction of the existing coal reserves. This shows that the pre-flood world was mostly covered by lush vegetation. The rising floodwaters and tsunamis that were necessary to sweep over the land and bury vast amounts of vegetation that turned into coal are best explained by a catastrophe of worldwide proportions.
Is it? Or is it explained by a long period of time? Like millions and millions of years. I'm going to go with that one. What do you think, Beamsy?
It would make far more sense by saying that, we only have about 3% of the plant matter to make up to what current coal reserves. That means much more time would have had to have gone past to make that 3% into the 100% of coal.
Yeah, like millions and millions of years to accumulate all that plant matter, right? Not, the pre-flood world must have just had so much vegetation. It was like more vegetation than you can shake a stick at. You don't even understand how much vegetation this was, Beamsy.
It would be like having grass plains, but instead of grass, they're made out of 50-foot trees.
Yeah, everywhere, like 1 inch apart, like that thick, everywhere, covering every inch of the earth.
Dinosaur fossils buried under heaps of mud also attest to the flood. In fact, geologists have found what was a temporarily exposed dinosaur peninsula where the dinosaurs made their last stand. Now,
it's not a peninsula, it's a basin.
Sea life transport.
Dinosaur peninsula.
I just want to say, when you say dinosaurs make their last stand, it does make it sound like they were fighting against the meteor and they lost.
Well, he means against the floodwaters. Like this is like the last area that was dry, where they couldn't drown before, God was determined to drown every single one of them.
Okay, so it is that they made their last stand against the drowning. They were instead wearing a bunch of flippers and floaties, but they didn't make it, James.
The funny thing is that dinosaur peninsula is actually lower than the surrounding shelves.
The elevation is lower?
Yeah. Topographically speaking, that they sometimes call it the dinosaur basin because it was a basin. It wasn't a peninsula.
But there are lots of dinosaurs there.
There are a lot of different fossil sites all through that area.
And it's true. It would be definitely the X-Men riding dinosaurs. Last stand.
The thing is, most of the fossils aren't dinosaurs.
What's that?
Most of the fossils found there aren't dinosaurs.
What is the largest percentage of fossils?
Most of them are megalithic creatures from when Yellowstone National Park did it.
Blood
Some
deposits,
wildlife
the
in the
first
region.
genetic sequences, do not seem to have deposited much material over this dinosaur peninsula. Only a few hundred yards of sediment remain along the margins, and in many places, no trace of deposition is left at all. Deposits thousands of feet thick occur east and west of this temporarily exposed peninsula that extends from Minnesota to New Mexico. Now buried across it are pre-flood wetland plants and animals, including dinosaurs, turtles, frogs, fish, and many birds. Thousands of dinosaur trackways up and down this peninsula.
Krish, the best way to get in contact with Aaron Ra is to contact his producer. Contact Peter at youtube.com/gonna-go-for-it. If Peter thinks that you got a good vibe, he'll probably connect you with Aaron Ra. And
one thing that they can never answer when it talks about dinosaur footprints, how did they survive the tsunamis that apparently washed across them?
Got covered in mud. There you go. The mud washed over and preserved it.
And if you want to know what happens when large masses of water move across land, you have to look at the Scablands.
Is that from the Missoula flood?
Yes, that's up in the Missoula region. That's right. It tore off most of the upper strata and went straight down to the bedrock, and there are even areas of vortices and evidence of waves in the area.
And this was how many thousands of years ago?
The Missoula flood was about 50,000 years ago, if I remember correctly. I'm more than likely incorrect on that because it's been a while since I've looked at it.
Roughly, though.
Since I said...
Roughly 50,000 years ago, we can still see evidence of it, like clear evidence all over the landscape. Yet, of course, they're saying this worldwide flood was only 4,000 years ago. We don't see jack shit.
Plus similar temporarily exposed low areas on other continents suggest that dying dinosaurs and other hardy track makers floated, waded, and walked on freshly deposited mud, trying to find safe ground. Next, the massive Zuni mega sequence hits. The Absaroka and Zuni mega sequences are the most severe because the continental plates began to move more quickly from the mid-flood transitory Pangea configuration.
As bad as it is like how they're moving the continents, like the rapid movement right there is not too far from what they're saying, because they really are saying that like 1 billion years of plate tectonics all took place within 1 year. That's just makes the heat problem even so much worse.
All that subduction and abduction, it's just, yeah. And Big Bad Mama, it was 13 to 15,000 years ago, so thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, Big Bad Mama.
I had a feeling I was wrong.
Thank you again to Praise I Am That I Am. Sending love, Big Bad Mama.
To where they are today, with oceanic rifting and plate subduction increasing dramatically and the continents traveling apart quickly, the tsunami-like waves began washing across North America, while virtually no sedimentation is occurring in the east. When coming up over the Dinosaur Peninsula, the Zuni catastrophically buries dinosaurs in the Morrison Formation, a 13-state area encompassing over 700,000 square miles. This Jurassic unit includes at least 141 massive dinosaur boneyards, where dinosaurs like Camarasaurus, Diplodocus, Apatosaurus, Stegosaurus, and Allosaurus are found. The Cretaceous layers, like the Hill Creek Formation, are found on top of the Jurassic and hold hundreds of mass boneyards containing several different types of dinosaurs, such as T-Rex, Triceratops, Centrosaurus, and Edmontosaurus that had been living in a different ecosystem, also buried by the Zuni. The Zuni was so massive and fast that it engulfed entire regions with mud flows, burying giant creatures like this T-Rex under 50 feet of muddy sediment, entombed so quickly that preserved blood cells, blood vessels, and bone cells were found just recently. How much water does it take to pile 50 feet of mud?
Oh, Mary Schweitzer.
The Dinosaur National Monument in Utah contains thousands of visible bones from 11 kinds of dinosaurs that were buried in a jumbled mass in the Morrison Formation, together with crocodiles, turtles, lizards, frogs, and clams. What type of event would it take to bury all these different land animals with millions of clams? When the Dinosaur Peninsula flooded over completely, large herds of dinosaurs were entombed in massive fossil graveyards in the Upper Cretaceous system found in northern Wyoming, Montana, and Alberta, Canada. The dinosaurs had tried to escape by fleeing northward up the peninsula as waters advanced from the south. This explains this massive graveyard in northern Montana that's over 1.2 miles long and contains 30 million fossil fragments, representing over 10,000 adult Maiasaura that were simultaneously in this entire collection of.
I never knew Maiasaura were mosasaurs.
A little species confusion there.
Look, it starts with an M.
Yes, yeah, Maiasaurs. Yeah. Oh, I know about the area he's talking about. It's actually one of the best areas to find mosasaurs.
Of bones, not a single baby was found. Every one of these 10,000 Maiasaura was between 9 and 23 feet long. Does this seem like the adult dinosaurs were stampeding away from the raging floodwaters, with 100% of their young falling behind and being engulfed in a different part of the peninsula?
He's just outright lying.
Miles northeast of this location is one of the largest dinosaur graveyards in the world. One that even secular scientists admit was caused by a watery catastrophe. Here, thousands of centrosaurs are buried in 14 mega bone beds over an entire square mile, which is nearly 500 football fields. Looks like a massive herd of these creatures, thousands of them, were simultaneously buried in mud by Noah's flood. Just 45 miles west from this location is yet another massive flood deposit, and this one even has 49 different species of dinosaurs buried along with turtles, crocodiles, fish, flying reptiles, birds, and small mammals. What type of disaster could bury 49 species of dinosaurs and many other types of animals, including marine life, together in mass graves?
With the centrosaurs, what they're talking about, they've got 27 bone beds. So it would have been 27 flood events that would have actually flooded that area. And they think that the centrosaurs were not very bright and they wouldn't have run away. They would have stayed in their herd. And that's why they're in individual bone beds. Some of the bone beds are on top of other bone beds with layers of sediment between them. It does not fit one event. He wants to say that all of these bone beds were laid down at once, but they're scattered far and wide, and some of them are stacked on top of each other with other layers of sediment between them. And a flood doesn't do that.
Burial sites are common in the U.S. as well. For example, look at this dinosaur dig site in Wyoming, where a 1 meter thick layer.
Here you can see the early attempt at the first Jurassic Park.
Of mudstone stretches for 80 acres, with over 1 million bones buried in a graded, sorted bed, where big bones are found at the bottom and little bones on top. The only way to develop a graded bed like this is by a catastrophic process that transports these
What?
bones and deposits them during a single event.
But
Large-
why were they showing the excavation of a single specimen and not a mixture of bones?
were able to fly to escape the rising floodwaters, delaying their demise until the later stages of the flood. The fossil record shows they are buried in many different layers all over the world. There's no doubt that widespread volcanism was also involved in finishing off the dinosaurs, as many of these mass graves are literally packed with volcanic ash, ash that in many cases was mixed with water when it emplaced the dinosaurs in their tombs.
Then why was it ash, not mud?
Spreads across 5 states and includes over 4,000 cubic miles of volcanic materials. Without a single volcano in the Morrison Formation area, geologists
Oh, you idiot! You absolute idiot!
Morrison area.
What is about 100 kilometers north of the Morrison area?
Can I ask Beamsy, at this point in the video, how many times have you hit your head on the desk?
6.
6. We're going. So we're just gonna add another 3. If you
Yeah,
don't
what is 100 miles north of that thing? Did you talk about the North Pole?
Yellowstone National Park.
Oh, even better.
There's no volcanoes near it.
Oh no, not at all.
Oh, it's just
volcanoes created by the magma rising from the subducting ocean crust.
Mark wants to know, is it Yellowstone?
yes, it is.
It's not the North American it's not fat, it's big bone.
Like here, that's how Yellowstone for.
Today, these subduction zones form the Ring of Fire, responsible for over 90% of our earthquakes. The Bible records that on the 150th day of the flood, God made a wind to pass over the earth. The waters started to recede. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. After the water peaked over the top of the highest remnant of the pre-flood world, it began to rush off the continents, eroding and reworking some of the deposits laid down in the previous megasequences, especially carving away at the Zuni deposits. This final phase appears to have been different than the others because there was a reversal in flow direction as the waters began to sheet off the continents. This flow reversal transported much of the fossils deposited earlier off the highest uplands, spreading them towards the edges of the continent. The evidence points to the floodwaters draining southward off of the U.S. towards the Gulf of Mexico. The sheet wash
Always gets scary when these people talk about evidence.
This is why we find massive sand deposits.
Do you notice that one big white line through the middle of that drainage map that he showed, which didn't coincide with what he showed in his idea? That's what he's showing. That's what he's presenting. Everything from California up to the north there, and look where that single white line is dividing it in half. Something is missing, isn't it? That's a drainage map that shows the basins. It allows for the
Dinosaur Peninsula.
It's more so you can lay for an idea of where everything is going to flow. But if you also look, most of that shows off the coast. It's not actually showing the actual landmass.
So it's showing the opposite of what he's saying.
Yes.
Sounds like creationists. Yep.
We're on the right track.
This is why we find massive sand deposits in the deep water of the Gulf of Mexico. Billions of barrels of oil have been discovered, with much of it found within a massive 1,100-foot thick bed of pure sand in over 7,000 feet of water, over 200 miles offshore. In addition, as the flood ended, plants swept off the pre-flood lands formed massive coal beds, such as in the Powder River Basin of Wyoming and Montana. These layers contain the largest coal deposits in North America that currently supplies over 40% of the coal in the U.S. Some of these stacked coal beds are up to 200 feet thick and cover areas that are 60.
All right, Mark, I'm not going to have this sort of nonsense on this channel. How dare you? Mark says, I'm beginning to suspect that the people who did this documentary did not check their information. What?
Listen, he bought a geology book off of Amazon. He looked at it for a couple days.
Excuse me, I'm fairly sure the gentleman
He knows
that
what
wrote
he's talking
the
about.
script is another graduate of Basement University. Couldn't possibly be. Beamsy, I promised you that this video and that James was presenting us was going to be filled with wisdom, right? So much wisdom.
The facts, you know.
The facts.
Sticks to the facts.
I've seen less fertilizer being produced at a cow farm.
Sponsored by Wendy's, ladies and gentlemen. It's where we get our meat. And so we are about 2/3 of the way through Noah's Flood and North America. And then we are going to be, unless there's like a creationist, an actual creationist that would call in for a call, will probably be any open mic would actually be at the Discord. So it has been, and we'll also give Beamsy, I would like as much open time at the end to correct or vent or smoke a cigarette live on stream, whatever he'd like to
put
do.
Ice his head, you know, get that ice pack out, you know. But I mean, it must be hard, Beamsy, to realize, you know, all the years you spent researching and in the laboratory, you were wrong this whole time, and now you're just having this rush of knowledge just overwhelm you. It probably is overwhelming, you know, to realize that how little you knew all this time.
I am just glad they haven't brought up my biggest pet peeve, limestone. That's my biggest pet peeve when it comes to how they misrepresent that.
Why?
Because they want all limestone to be laid down by organic material, so things like algae and bacteria. But limestone is calcium carbonate. It can be laid down through three main ways: through organic means, through accretion, and concretion.
15-foot whale penises. They lay the limestone down.
Indeed.
Another way of putting it is both marble and chalk are both limestones, and it's like comparing diamonds and graphite.
50 miles long by 60 miles wide. The sheer volume of plant material required to form such a massive layer of coal testifies to catastrophic circumstances. The massive runoff that began with the retreating floodwaters may also explain the lack of human fossils in the rock record. Any residual human remains left buried in earlier deposits were totally destroyed by the erosive retreating floodwaters, in line with God's promise to wipe them.
All right, what does it say? God said to Noah, please order DoorDash. I can start it. God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with thoughts, and they're hot, with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Signed, the good guy of the story. Good.
From the face of the earth. Any residual remains were ground up and likely spread in all directions over great distances in the Tejas megasequence, lessening the likelihood of finding any human fossil remains. Because humans were impacted earlier by the flood's violence, they were destroyed and thus not buried whole deep in the sediments, leaving no fossil traces. Later erosion in the Tejas sequence would have affected the strata beneath, wiping away even traces of human remains buried in earlier layers. When God stopped the fountains of the Great Deep on day 150, the new ocean surface began cooling and sinking, allowing the floodwaters to lower as they
Earth.
sheeted off the continents into
fabulous, though.
the new ocean basins. Psalm 104 describes the mountains being raised at the end of the flood and the waters draining down valleys and off the emerging new land surfaces. The seafloor rifting process and the resulting mountain forming process explains why sea creatures are found on mountaintops all over the world, high above current sea levels. For the remaining
So it's not uplift and upwelling.
Is that really why?
No, it's uplift and upwelling.
flood, the water recedes from the earth and it dries out, allowing time for earth to be replenished with
That's
vegetation.
normally a point that they kind of harp on, the creationists. Almost like they made up their own creationist answer for that.
But what are they going to do about the salt problem? Because the earth was just covered with salt water for a year, and that would have solidified most of the soil.
Are you saying that Brando may not be what plants crave?
Well, Brando would be better than what the plants would have to deal with after a flood of that type.
That's probably true.
For the animals to eat when they eventually come off the ark. This year-long catastrophe left behind a vast number of proofs that, quite frankly, make its occurrence obvious. First, we have the staggering volume of fossil-bearing sedimentary rocks around the world. Over 1 mile thick on average, billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth.
There you go, Beamsy.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
I told you it was coming.
And that's not to you, James. It's to whoever is saying that.
Go ahead and back that up, Amy. Let us hear that one more time. All its glory, and get the drum roll, please.
Things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. And the billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. And the sediments they're found in lie above sea level. What sort of water process could emplace so much sediment above sea level on top of the land surface? Another clue is the vast horizontal extent of individual sediment layers with little to no erosional channeling between successive layers. What sort of
I'll say, I'm impressed. I would be more impressed if it wasn't. They are mining some of the good production values of some other thing. Like, this was made with no intention to be monetized. That's why it's so some of the stuff is so good. Like, I put one of the things they were showing, it was like they just jacked it from BBC. Like, there's no way that YouTube would ever put ads on this, and yet it looks good to creationists because I guess that is the main goal. Like, wherever they didn't get this drawing, they didn't actually pay for this drawing, or so I assume from the history of everything, they have gotten this from other people that I doubt that they ever had permission from. But you're right. I mean, don't hate the hater or the player, hate the game.
The Coconino sandstones. Ken Hoven likes to talk about those.
Yeah. But I like usage of good stock footage, and so I will always give props to that. What is up, Doorknob Head?
The thing is, if you actually look closely at the pictures they're showing, he's trying to show that, look, it's only got 4 or 5 layers. If you look at it closely, it's got closer to 300 or 400. Just because it's a similar color doesn't mean... Yeah, just because it's the same color doesn't mean it was deposited all at one time.
It's just the same material being deposited, right?
Similar
material.
And depositional process could conceivably generate such uniform layers over such vast horizontal distances. Many of these layered beds are separated by bedding planes on the scale of inches to feet apart, a feature so common that few stop to think about how it happened. It's as if the sediment is being deposited in pulses in a repeating manner.
Ironically, creationists, few stop to think.
And that's not sediment. Someone dug a hole in the ground and is now saying that that's sediment. No, that's just dirt. That's not sedimentation.
That's dirt.
With each pulse producing a thin layer commonly found around the world. The flood tsunamis provide a perfect explanation, and it happened so quickly that there was no time between deposition of the layers for surviving critters to burrow into the layers and churn them over. What has been discovered, both from a creationist as well as from a secular understanding, is that much of the continental fossil record.
And yet we actually encounter burrows and holes that have been done by worms all the way through a lot of these rock formations. So,
and if you ask a lot of gay men in the closet, there are a lot of worms and holes.
But Beamsy, the flood killed all the worms. So
It's true.
the only ones that were survived were the ones on the ark.
but the amount of issues he's bringing up is dumbfounding. How you have to explain how that would work. That's not even taking into the biological aspect of how did the creatures get back to where their homes.
But they had different homes.
That is the last thing I'll say on this. Is it's a potent combination. Is that you get good stock footage, you get things that look like they seem official, marriage with someone who sounds official and that says stupid things confidently. And so you go away as a creationist feeling like your God beliefs are a little bit more scientific than you thought. So when you're up against them science folks, well, you don't have to be feeling like, hey, why did I come from a monkey? Well,
In other words, increase the Flash Gordon noise and put up more science stuff.
It's an aspect of the expressing it simply that it is easy to accept, whereas in the full explanation of how this occurs is it will take hours to go through everything that he said wrong, and I'm trying to stick on sedimentation areas.
Major points.
Yeah.
I think the best thing you've said in preparation for this is I'm glad I didn't watch this video because it would have taken me a 50-hour rebuttal. So we're at least getting this into a bite size. And so I do want to thank you, Beamsy. I want to thank everyone. We're getting into the end game of the video. If you enjoy this content and all, it's the mandatory shilling. Just hitting the like button. It gets us in the algorithm. You can't prove any of those fossils had children. Where did the top layer come from? Outer space.
All the layers, they're all the same age. They're all the same age.
And you can join Twitch subscribership like Beamsy is down below. All the cool people. I have a Twitch subscribership. Thank you so very much, everyone out there. Twitch.tv/Amy Newman Skeptic. And of course, all of our subscribers. Sending love to our subscribers. We have been gaining. We're just one away from 1390. So thank you out there. And if you become a subscriber, you can also gain access with that bell icon to hit all and join our premieres, our live streams. Seeing love, Norfolk, and sending love to our main host of the night, Beamsy, and Doorknob Head, and Binge Thinker, and One Handsome Man, and Big Bam Mama, and Mark Reid, and Captain Red Bull, and everyone. Chris hanging with us. We're going into the end of the end, ladies and gentlemen. We have been Talk Skeptic to us, with Beamsy joining us as we've been talking Noah's Flood in North America.
Was already in place before any of the present-day ocean crust had come into existence at a rift zone. For example, all of the trilobite fossils had been deposited, plus all of the older coal deposits had already been formed before any of the present-day ocean crust had formed. Since in creationist understanding, the presence of fossils is a completely trustworthy indicator of the action of the flood, this means that much of the flood cataclysm had already unfolded and had generated fossil-bearing sediments on the continental surface before any of the present-day ocean floor had appeared. It further implies that all of today's ocean floor formed since the onset of the flood, during roughly the latter half of the
Oh, so this is your butt after a burrito.
cataclysm. It also means that all of the pre-flood ocean floor, plus the ocean floor formed during the earlier portion of the flood, must have been recycled into the Earth's interior during the cataclysm.
Must have been.
These considerations indicate in a compelling way that rapid plate tectonics must have been a major aspect of the year-long flood catastrophe. This 6 megasequence worldwide flooding process perfectly set the stage for the subsequent ice age. The oceans had been tremendously heated by the rifting that had taken place along the 45,000-mile ridge system and the creation of a completely new seafloor from hot lava as a consequence. This caused an abnormal amount of evaporation and thus continuous rain that was likely worldwide. The volcanic activity created by the subduction zones that created the Ring of Fire would have spewed volumes of ash and aerosols high into the atmosphere, resulting in cooling over the continent.
Looked like that scene from the movie where the nukes, it looks like it was War Games or whatever.
Especially in the higher latitudes. These factors combined to produce an ice age that lasted a few hundred years, but ended as the conditions that caused it waned. The Ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month.
There you go. I can't help that. That is like a nice thing. There you go. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
The problem is, Mount Ararat's a volcano, so with all of that tectonic activity, I don't think Ararat would be very happy to see them land there.
As Noah and his family entered through the single door of the Ark to be saved from the flood, there's only one way of salvation today.
The door.
Jesus Christ in the book of John says, I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved.
Oh, he'll be saved. He'll be saved over and over and over again.
Through his death and resurrection, Christ paid the penalty.
Also, I love this. They Xenu you every time. Like they were kind of, even though they're talking about Noah, you notice he was talking kind of like mock science terms like the whole time. But then at the very end, they're like, what about Jesus?
For our sins, offering salvation to those who will receive him. With so much evidence supporting the historical foundation of the Christian faith, we pray that you will consider following Christ as the only way for salvation. As many as received him, to them gave he power to become children of God, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God.
Signed, Chipotle.
It's rather a bit sus when they actually say that we should all follow in Jesus' footsteps. What? You expect us to be well hung and nailed by a bunch of Romans?
I mean, is that an option?
Sounds like a normal Friday at the Newman household.
But yes, that is a little bit of a high bill to hang. And yet I think that is going to bring us to the end of Noah's flood and North America as we watch from Christian movies. What a wonderful bit of wisdom. Wow. It would have been funny if that said Grinder chat. The bots. Hello, bots. We feel honored. But Beamsy, do you feel as... well, I have to ask. Hold on one second. We're going to have to get a final tally. A tally-ho. A tally-ho.
He only scored another 2 extra, so it only went up to 8.
There we go. That's what I wanted to know. And so we're just going to do another 1 and 2. All right, 8. I feel like that's a good starter. A good starter.
I'm just glad that they stayed away from limestone. That's one of my bigger pet peeves.
Your head would have cracked if he had started to talk about limestone.
Oh no, you would hear me rant.
And then it would have become a skeptic and ranting.
More than likely.
Woo-hoo. Well, I think on that, in a second, we are probably going to transition. Me? No, not me. We're going to transition to Beamsy's outro. Yes, I already did that a decade ago, which makes me seem so old. But this one's young. Look at that one. They're cute. And they're munching on kid food. And we are going to, I think, send it out really to the man of the hour. I don't have anything else. I'll give my spiel shilling bullshit at the end. We already did that in the middle. Let's give it over to really the man of the hour. We are Talk Skeptic to us. And with that, we're going to hand it over to our special guest host of the night, Beamsy. The hour is near, and I am queer. Oh, the fact I can rhyme that with
remember to put that protective helmet on.
Indeed. Beamsy, I want to thank you so much for coming on. We have been Talk Skeptic toing us. You have been the man with the plan. Very specifically, we have tried to take a desk schematic and try to see if we can get your head to go through the desk that it was written on. I want to thank you for coming on. And what can you tell us about the video, the topic, or anything that you want tonight? Because we have been talking Noah's Flood in North America.
Well, thank you for having me on. It actually does assist me. I only recently got my PhD, so I'm still in that echo chamber phase of it. I'm trying to avoid speaking.
Which means we can
terms.
call you Dr. Beamsy.
Please don't.
Ha 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 ha.
But the aspect is, I'm still in the echo chamber phase of going through my degrees. I think in very technical terms, and that's not the best way to express it and get it across to people, because to do that, you'd need to explain your technical terms, and it just makes the explanation more convoluted.
Because you're not explaining it to doctors anymore, you're explaining it to...
No, you're not explaining to peers, people who have been through a similar... Yeah. It is a very difficult thing to do for people who have spent a great deal of time researching and literally putting your nose to the grindstone and just thinking in technical terms for so long. So it is very good practice for me to start talking in a way that people can comprehend to a better degree. As for the video,
is you have the opposite goal of a creationist now. You are trying to convey information and not sound technical.
Help us understand.
Someone who knows what they're talking about can convey something simply, clearly, and easily. As my knowledge is fairly new and I'm still building it up, it's still in a technical level, and I'm still coming to terms with a lot of it. It's very difficult for me to express it in a very simple term.
Absolutely, but I think you've been doing a fantastic job. And so right back over to you, though, Beamsy. It sounded like you may have a thought or two on the subject itself.
It is very disappointing that it was very much Answers in Genesis production. They stuck with a couple of their major key points. A few of the ones were they tried to express basins as individual stratifications of megastrata. But that's not what basins are. The easiest way to explain what a basin is, it's like a river mouth, a river delta. It's a low area of land that at times builds up sediment into it, either through rivers, floods, or in some times glaciation effects. And it allows for rapid jumps in strata. So you can see very large build-up of strata. It's very uncommon to see things like that. That's why every continent doesn't have a Grand Canyon. Every continent doesn't have a scab lands. Or every continent doesn't have a hotspot underneath it, like under Yellowstone National Park. Some of these geological features are very, very unique and can only be expressed in old time. It cannot be expressed in young times. And of course, everyone loves tacos. We have to add that to the end of it.
Indeed.
Mark says you did a great job. Thanks, Mark. For the feedback.
I stutter a bit because I'm still trying to think of how to. It's not simplified. It's expressed in a way that people can understand. Because it's not because people are dumb. It's that I'm thinking in a different way than other people. I'm trying to translate from one language to another would be a better way of putting it.
The hyper-technical to the normal.
Though when it comes to young Earth creationists, you could say that there's at least a small possibility that, maybe just a little, could be a tiny...
Maybe hand
gestures. No, we would never call people dumb. Listen.
Maybe wooden models to show them this is a continent.
And again, actually, it turns out that a lot of smart people make stupid things sound rational. They become even better mental gymnasts. So sending love out there. But oh my goodness. $5 super chat coming in from Mark Reid.
Thanks, Mark.
Fantastic job, Beamsy. Can you simply explain why polystrata trees are not evidence of a global flood?
They're not trees. Most of them are either incursion or something referred to as a karst fossil. They're not trees. Most of them either turn out to be something along the lines of a club moss or an incursion of igneous rock that comes up into cracks.
Gotcha. It's false advertising, you're saying. It's PR.
Yeah, they're not trees. If you look at what a fossilized tree is, you can see them in the petrified forest or in the preserved forest in Specimen Hills. You can see that they're trees. But if you look at what they point out as not just the root systems, you can see the actual lines of the bark. You can see the rings from the tree itself.
The tree rings.
Gotcha.
Yes. But if you look at what they say is a polystrata tree, it's normally just a rock.
And if it is a tree, is it from just a local flood, a local deposition event, or?
In most cases, if it's an actual tree fossilization, it would have been something that would have been buried during a flood event. But I cannot think of any that are actual trees, what they would call a polystrata tree. Most turn out to be a club moss, and they're just a cast of that club moss.
Listen, Beamsy, the moss is going through stages in life. It likes mimosas. Just because it likes the club, I don't feel like you should just be judging.
And another one that is fairly common is an incursion into the actual strata of usually igneous rock. And those are 99% of them that have ever been presented, and the ones I've seen can be explained that way. I haven't seen them all, so I can't say that they're all explained that way, but the majority of them turn out to either be an incursion or a mold fossil of something like a club moss.
Well, thank you so very much for that super chat, Mark Reid. Sending all the love and support right back at him, and Beamsy for your response.
So Beamsy, you saying that something can look like a tree, but it might not be a tree?
Well, they're like, from what it sounds like, is they're like, look, there was something green in the strata. And so
looks
they're
like
like,
a
yeah,
tree.
it's a tree.
Clearly, looks like a tree. It's a tree.
It didn't look like a tree. It was big like a tree, and that was about the end of the similarities.
Well,
Big,
Beamsy, I can
round,
say that is where the end of me. I messed up that's the end of the similarities between me and a tree too. All right, with that, I want to thank Beamsy for coming on with us on Noah's Flood and North America as we looked at a video from Christian movies. Boo doo boo 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 doo. In fact, I do want to thank you all for joining us on this episode of Talk Skeptic to Me, Noah's Flood in North America, where Beamsy joined us for commentary on, as someone said, it was really a mockumentary from the channel Christian Movies called Noah's Flood and North America, as him, James W., and myself had a good time biblically flooding North America. And I do want to thank, again, my co-host, James. I'm trying to, you can see the gears turning as I look from my screen. I want to thank my co-host, James W., ding, as well as our special guest host, Beamsy, along with all the fantastic people in chat, our awesome mods who make this stream so great, and of course, lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. Again, I mean, everyone says it. I hear it goes sometimes in one ear and out the other, though I found our community is great. They hit the like button and subscribe and all of that, and so we can't help but send the love back to you, but you got to do the spiel. The like, it helps go into the algorithm.
That's
it
right,
makes
Dora.
it go up the butt. What's that?
Crockumentary, he says.
Crockumentary. I
what a
tried
crock.
to.
Yeah,
Yes,
not
I was trying to put
cockumentary, Amy,
bullshit.
No.
No, a cockumentary is once again what I'm going to do later tonight. However, you could
Mark.
follow on Twitch. Thank you. We've gained. The Twitch has been growing. We've been pouring water all over there, having sunlight.
Globally flooding.
Twitch.tv. Exactly. We haven't been globally flooding it. We haven't figured out how. We've been locally flooding the Twitch at twitch.tv/Amy Newman Skeptic, and getting all sorts of fun things for it. Flare, Menair, my derriere ready out there, as well as subscribing on YouTube. That's right.
Just don't get in her hair.
Don't you dare. Oh my. That's right. As well as hitting that bell icon once you do subscribe, because that's actually how you get stuff in your feed, more than just hitting, like, your friend Steve, who likes basket weaving, though we keep on saying basket weaving. Actual skill, University of Basement, not so much. Heating Hot Pockets, I can do it great too. However, anyway, sending love. Subscribe. Sponsored by, I don't even know who makes a Hot Pocket. Who makes Hot Pockets? One of those guys, sponsored by the Borg. And hey, why not leave a comment once the video's done? Hey, my sexuality is very secure. This is my wife. I feel like that makes me straight now. How you doing, guys? My God. Once the video's done,
I have sex with her all the time.
I have sex with her with the lights on. I've done it twice.
Right?
Or why not leave a super thanks, which is like a super chat, but something like a highlighted comment you can do that also supports the channel after the video's done. After the Taco Fest. You can feel the gears. After the show, the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server will be opening up for the after show, the link of which is in the description below with many fantastic people. We have our Twitch subscribers. We have our channel members. And of course, with our evolving badge system, you can hit the join button right down and support the channel. Come to the Skeptic and Ranting community, and the best way to help us out. We are now we are just a few more dollars away from hitting the Patreon of $200 a month, which was our first limit because we're paying all the bills. And so after that, we actually are starting to make. And so if you head out to patreon.com/Amy Newman, you can not only become a supporter, but unlock some unique perks for yourself, like all of these fantastic people right there. Do. But with that, I am Amy Newman. And we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z, sponsored by the true God that Beamsy would like us to worship, that ass.
The only God that really gets you on your knees.